In the Victorian period, marriage was the apex of expectations and dreams for most young ladies. The present video will talk about how relationships functioned, as well as the wedding night and the high points and low points of hitched life. However, before we plunge into that, if it's not too much trouble, similar to the video and buy into the feed to remain refreshed with our impending recordings. For a lady, marriage raised her societal position as well as saved her from the feared destiny of turning into an old maid auntie. Assuming she were fortunate, a spouse could figure out how to cherish her significant other, regardless of whether he had been picked by her folks. Working external, the house was seldom a possibility for center or high society young ladies. Their objective was to get hitched, have numerous kids, and be upheld by their spouses. Marriage likewise gave a chance to break liberated from the severe control of their folks and an opportunity to begin their own families. Guardians, thusly, were feeling better to be liberated from monetary obligation and the gamble of outrage, particularly on the off chance that they had different little girls. The big day started with the wedding night. In the Victorian time, individuals could have the feeling that they were all rigid and physically subdued, yet it wasn't exactly similar to that. The 19th century denoted the period of data, with numerous manuals, flyers, and sexual guidance books. Be that as it may, the most strict families didn't permit their girls admittance to such data. Young fellows were frequently urged to gain these handouts and visit massage parlors. It was the mother's obligation to have a prenuptial discussion with her unadulterated and virtuous girl. She would examine conjugal commitments and how to act on the main night with her better half. In any case, numerous ladies regarded themselves as not well ready, which implied that the discussion with their moms had been befuddling or deficient. The lady of the hour would wear the wedding robe, frequently painstakingly weaved without anyone else for the second. A considerable lot of them had gone through months weaving the robe, just to rest soundly, dressed close to their spouses. However, numerous young ladies knew precisely exact thing to do at that point. As per verifiable writer Charlotte Betts, a 16-year-old young lady could have hitched a lot more seasoned man. At the point when she saw her better half exposed, she escaped to her folks' home in tears, running a few kilometers in her robe around midnight. Be that as it may, it wasn't simply the young ladies who confronted matrimonial frustrations. The book likewise specifies a lovebird spouse who mentioned a dissolution of the marriage after finding that his better half had pubic hair. This was on the grounds that sexual counsel magazines portrayed female genitalia like a Barbie doll's, without subtleties and without pubic hair. Envision the young fellow's failure when he experienced a pubic timberland there. Here and there, most relationships were fulfilled, regardless of whether it required a couple of days, and everything finished well. During that time, a man with some sexual experience who cherished his lady and set aside some margin to treat her with graciousness had a lot higher possibility of a blissful marriage. The spouse ought to devote herself to her significant other's satisfaction. The best obligation of a lady is to endure and remain silent. These two expressions were without a doubt the most often expressed guidance to their girls by moms. As a trade-off for their help and the situation with a cheerful spouse, numerous ladies devoted themselves solely to fulfilling their husbands, both with conjugal commitments and ordinary spoiling. They were supposed to ably focus on the youngsters, keep the house clean, and guarantee that scrumptious feasts were served. They must be a decent friend and a satisfied leader, consistently faithful to their significant other's desires. Numerous youthful spouses might have contemplated whether they had genuinely accomplished the opportunity they looked for while leaving their folks' homes. Relationships among the privileged were frequently organized between families to safeguard and expand influence and abundance. Around then, a great marriage didn't be guaranteed to imply that the youthful couple was infatuated. Couples from the social first class normally snoozed separate rooms, and the spouse visited his significant other at whatever point he wanted. After the spouse brought forth a couple of kids, despite the fact that it was seldom examined, she may be allowed to have illicit relationships. The spouse, then again, consistently kept his issues beyond the marriage. In all honesty, devotion was thought of as vital for center and lower class couples. The rich lived in an equal world zeroed in exclusively on expanding their riches and individual joys. In the working class, a lady who betrayed her significant other would unquestionably have her life demolished. Separate was by and large impossible for most couples. Nonetheless, when it worked out, it was the last shame in a lady's life. Information from the Victorian separation demonstration of 1850–1895 uncovers that around 10 confidential separation acts were passed in Parliament every year. In the event that a lady left her significant other prior to getting a separation, she would lose care of her kids and any material resources she brought into the marriage. The care of babies. Demonstration of 1839 permitted a mother to have guardianship of youngsters under 7 if she could demonstrate her standing and that she wasn't living with another man. A spouse could demand a separation on the off chance that his better half had been untrustworthy. Yet her rehashed demonstrations of infidelity were not adequate justification for a wife to separate from her significant other. Furthermore, for a lady to separate, she expected to demonstrate mercilessness, departure, interbreeding, or ruthlessness by her significant other. In the event that a conjugal breakdown became excruciating, many couples decided to make prudent game plans to live separated, without Parliament's endorsement. This kept away from tattle around since divorces were reported in papers with narrative confirmation. While marriage, by and large, went on until death do us part, the typical future was something like 40 years. Numerous ladies kicked the bucket during labor, and single men were urged to remarry, for friendship as well as to give a mother to their kids and keep the family all together. Then again, a widow or isolated lady would possibly get a marriage on the off chance that she were extremely youthful and wonderful. Ladies near 30 or more established would live without a spouse for eternity. Anyway, what was your take of this video about the exceptional traditions of the Victorian period?